Shalom. And foremost, I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahashah, Ba'ashem, Ruach. Salutation to the elders and apostles of GMS groups and ones that like teach 100% truth. Shalom, Barakatham to them. I want to start out again by giving all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahashah, Ba'ashem, Ruach. Tonight's lesson, I'm going to read a few lessons related to wisdom. A stumbling block relating to the wicked and whatever the Spirit leads me to do. I'm going to start out with Sirach 19:22. The knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, neither at any time the counsel of sinners prudence. And that relates to true and false wisdom, man. Because wickedness, the knowledge of wickedness is false wisdom. I'm going to read Ecclesiastes 6:32 and 33. My son, if thou wilt, thou shalt be taught. And if thou wilt apply thy mind, thou shalt be prudent. If thou love to hear, thou shalt receive understanding, and if thou bow thine ear, thou shalt be wise. That relates to the blessing of wisdom. Blessing of wisdom relates to this word, this truth. I'm going to read Ecclesiastes 12:12 and 14. And further by these, my son, be admonished of making many books. There is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Yahweh, keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. And 13 makes the point, that's the whole duty of man. That's the whole duty that we're supposed to really be doing, relating to acknowledging and honoring Yahweh B'Shem Yashah. Ultimately, basically, if you love me, then you keep my commandments. I believe that talks about that in John. So if you how you love the Lord is basically following the statute and commandments as He's commanded. For Yahweh shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good, whether it be evil. And it relates to the whole duty of man. And the duty of man partly is this word is truth, and also ultimately doing according as Yahweh B'Shem Yashai commanded. That was Ecclesiastes 12:12 through 14. Ecclesiastes 6, just the chapter 1 through 12, talks about the wealth is not the goal of life. Because wealth and money, materialism, is not ultimately the goal of life. The goal of life ultimately is wisdom. Wisdom supersedes wealth, money, material things. You know what I mean? So, and I'm going to put it with this kingdom here. Because everybody's chasing that dream, chasing that American dream. But this American dream is a temporary dream. You know what I mean? It's not permanent. And the true wealth and health is the wisdom. Like I said, it supersedes everything. I'm going to read Psalm 69:22 and 24. Let their table become a snare before them. That table represents this word, this truth. And that which should have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. Normally, this should have been for the interest of overall, relating to the understanding, the wisdom, understanding the knowledge in different things. But it becomes a stumbling block relating to relating to the 2/3 ultimately, because not everybody's going to receive this. Some are going to receive it, and some are not. Let's read it again. Let their table become a snare before them, and that which should have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. Let their eyes be darkened, that they see not, and make their loins continually to shake. Pour out thy indignation upon them, and let thy wrathful anger take hold of them. And ultimately, this relates to the 2/3, man. Because this truth, this knowledge, is a snare to them. I'm going to read some verses talking about stumbling block. It's a stumbling block. Because they don't have the spirit to understand. It's not put in their spirit to understand truly relating to the meaning of this truth. So only a small remnant will be privileged and blessed with this gift to know certain things. And ones who are prophesizing on the highways and byways, chief places and concourses of places are privileged with this gift relating to this truth and word. Now that relates to an urgent plea for help in trouble. That relates to the nation of Israel. It's an urgent plea for help in a time of trouble, man. And ultimately, this relates to the 2/3. This becoming a snare to them for something that should be ultimately a benefit for all, but it's not. Like I said, it's a stumbling block for some and not for others. All right, let's continue on. I'm going to read Romans 11:9 and 10. And David saith, let their table be made a snare. You precept that with 69 Psalms and 22 to 24, what I just read. Same verbiage and language almost. And David saith, let their table be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them. Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their backs always. Precept that with, like I said, 69, 22, and 24 Psalms. And that talks about Israel's rejection, not total and not final. They're going to read also Romans 9 and 6. Can complement with that as well. And that whole chapter talks about pretty much Israel's rejection. This is 9 and 6 of Romans. Not as though the word of Yahweh have taken none effect. For they are not all Israel, which are of Israel. That relates to the 2/3. They are of Israel from bloodline and etc. But through the Spirit, they're not, because they ultimately, like I was saying, they refuse to acknowledge this truth, man. They reject this truth. So through the Spirit, they're not. At least not on this side anyway. So Romans 9 and Romans 11 talks about Israel's rejection, that chapters. I'm going to finish it off talking about it. Israel's rejection to Hamashiach and Yahweh's purpose. Yahweh's purpose is ultimately relating to put Zechariah 13 and 8. 2/3 will be cut off, 1/3 will be left therein, the remnant. So the purpose of Yahweh ultimately is 1/3 to receive this truth, and 2/3 are going to be cut off. Now the rest of that's 1 through 5. 6 through 13, Israel's rejection and God's purpose. 14 through 29, Israel's rejection and Yahweh's justice. Yahweh's justice is ultimately executing judgment upon the wicked and recompense and gathering his elect and his people back together, which are the hopeful elect, to gather back together, redeem them, buy back, to get back in, to reconnect with their power, Yahweh Bashem Yahshua. Ultimately, basically to rescue them from their points of spiritual captivity. Let's continue on. This is Ecclesiastes 31:7. It is a stumbling block unto them that sacrifice into it, and every fool shall be taken therewith. And that relates to the right attitude towards the riches. But ultimately, the riches in this case is this truth, man. The truth is the real riches, which is the wisdom and understanding of this truth. It's a stumbling block, like I said, and this relates to the wicked, because it's a stumbling block to them from a spiritual aspect. Now, the rest of that chapter talks about table etiquette. 25:31, temperance and drinking wine. Temperance is abstinence of alcohol, basically abstaining from participation in alcoholic beverages and stuff like that. All right, let's continue on. I'm going to read Ecclesiastes 39:24. As his ways are plain into the holy, which are the hopeful elect, the prophets, so are their stumbling blocks into the wicked. This relates to this truth, man. Like I said, this truth is a stumbling block to the wicked. They're not going to hearken and heed to it. They're going to reject it. They're going to rebel against what's being prophesied and what's being preached regarding these things. On this side, the wicked, they are a part of the Israel. They are the Israelites through bloodline, like I said in Romans 9:6. But through the Spirit, they're not. They're not really Israelites, because they don't hearken and heed and don't acknowledge this truth, man. They acknowledge the ways of this world, man. Their knowledge and wisdom is the wickedness of this world. So on this side, they're not going to receive it. We'll read it one more time. Ecclesiastes 39:24. And his ways are plain into the holy, so they are stumbling blocks into the wicked. So that's pretty much this is a stumbling block to the for the wicked, and plain and clearly for the remnant, the hopeful elect, the prophets, because the Spirit's on them. All right, let's continue on. I want to go back to Ecclesiastes 12. Relating to the whole duty of man. The whole duty of man ultimately, like I said, is to ultimately do according to what Yahweh Bashem Yahshua ultimately want us to do. Follow his statutes and commandments, which the nation of Israel didn't do. They didn't fulfill that duty, that whole duty that they're supposed to. And because they didn't fulfill that whole duty, the consequences of Deuteronomy 28, they have exiled, spread out, scattered through all four corners of the earth, to force for other nations to rule over them, oppress them in different kingdoms and different times of captivity, even all the way until now. So they didn't fulfill that. You know what I mean? They refused to do according to what they were supposed to do, their duties relating to Yahweh B'Shem Yahshua. So ultimately, they had to be punished. Now, this was just a few verses relating to that. We're going to begin to end that. We're going to end this. I'm going to give all praise to the Wada Yahweh B'Shem Yahshua first of all. Thank you for listening. I'll give all praise to Yahweh B'Shem Yahshua B'Shem Rakadish. Salutation to the elders and apostles of GMS groups and ones that like teach 100% true. Shalom Barakathon to them. Give all praise to Yahweh B'Shem Yahshua B'Shem Rakadish. The Wild Shalom. Thank you.